Good afternoon and hello, everybody.
Yeah. I'm aware that for Arran it's an hour later, and Corey in Australia, and anyone else that's there. So thanks for staying up.
Oh yeah, we still got that to deal with.
Yes. I've got a suggestion, but I'll chat to you afterwards. Yeah, because all our time zones are changing over the next month, so it's going to push us further apart. So
Yeah, everybody does something different for daylight savings, and they do it on different dates, and it's just. I already thought it was retarded. Now I really think it's retarded.
Yeah, I think within another couple of weeks, I'll be 2 hours different than the US based on last week. So yeah, it pushes me an hour later and Scott an hour earlier. So we'll have to get our thinking caps on for what we can do.
Yeah.
And Daniel's just fine in the middle. Doesn't really, bother.
Well, I moved the same way as America, as the US. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Wrong hemisphere.
Yeah. Great. So we've got Tye with us today, which is fantastic.
No. Yeah. I mean, you're saying that now. I can't guarantee that's going to be your feeling in about 4 to 7 minutes.
Oh, well, should we keep having a check-in, see how we're all doing? Is this still a good setup? Are we all okay?
I'm good.
It's funny because I'm sure there's a lot of people like me, Tye, that have been following you on YouTube and Instagram since I first saw your work in the Great Guitar Build-Off a few years ago. But your face doesn't appear very often. It's always working. Yeah. There's the odd bit where you might talk to camera on a specific video, but it's good to see you and hear you.
I've got a face for radio, as they say.
Join the club. I was going to say you've got the luthier face with the beard, but Aaron's breaking with that.
I would call it more of I'm kind of lazy, and I'm just going to let it breathe.
That's what happens with me. I'll have school holidays and I won't shave for 2 weeks, and then I'll grow a beard because I can't be bothered. And then, a month later, it's like, it just annoys me. And then it just cycles every 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's generally my motivation. It's not like I think I look better with it. I just, I can't be bothered.
100%. Especially since we have kids, it's there's not enough time to shave.
I probably got time. I just hate it.
Every time I shave, my kids say you need to grow it back. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't say anything, so therefore, it doesn't matter, I guess. I guess that's what she's saying. She's given up.
Yeah, actually, I've gotten to a point where the more that covers my face, the better at this age. It just, I don't know. Yeah. That concludes the beard discussion this morning.
Hey,
or does it?
Let's move on to beard grooming.
I wash it once in a while. That's it.
I have a strange feeling it'll be something that a lot of people are actually interested in. I don't know if any of you, we mentioned Paul Davids last week, I think, but I bet he gets loads of comments about his hair and his beard in his videos.
I definitely think so. I think he spends time grooming it and looking after it.
So just to kind of kick off chatting to Tye, I've got a question that I really want to ask. Because I love the name Shock the Fox.
I mean, shoot.
Where did Shock the Fox come from?
So, oh God, I could tell you right now, a story. But all I can guarantee you is that at the end of that story, what I have just told you is a lie. I've never told it. So what's funny is I did a podcast at one point, and they asked me the same question, and I told them 4 different stories, and I said, you pick out which one's true, and they each picked one. I said no, and they said, oh, then it's got to be this one. I go, no, that's a lie too. I'm not going to tell anyone what the hell it means. So yeah. I'll tell you one of my favorite lies. I'm just waiting for these lies to get back to me. So one of my favorite lies that I've told is I remember in college in a marketing class, and I've told this story so many times it's really actually seems like it's the truth now. In a marketing class, we learned that a way to add or create a brand tagline is you just use a verb, an article, and a noun, and just any random order, and that's a good brand tagline. So of course, I pointed to my buddy and I said, "Hey, give me a verb," and he goes, he wrote it down, etc. My next buddy, I said, I need you to write down an article. And of course, that buddy said, what's an article? And the. Perfect. Great. And I wanted to write down a noun. And I pointed to my first buddy. He said, shot. Second buddy says, the. That's the only one I can remember. Third buddy, me. I said, Fox. Okay, brand name has been created. Actually, I heard someone tell me that back at one point. I'm like, so the lie is starting to circulate? So that's good. Yeah.
Well, the fact that your buddy would say shock as a verb it automatically identifies it.
It makes sense that it's my buddy.
Yeah. Mine would all say something different.
I've got to say that does sound like a Brian Eno, David Bowie inspired way of coming up with a name like that.
I knew I didn't want anything that had to do with guitars or. I just wanted a random name, to be perfectly honest. I didn't want anything. So,
well, yeah. It's a fun one.
At least you put thought into it. I didn't.
What's that?
At least you put thought into it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, you got that. I didn't put much thought into it, to be perfectly honest.
It's the way you describe it. It reminds me of trying to pick band names with friends when I was a teenager, and we'd be like out getting quite drunk, and then in the morning we'd have a list, and then somehow a name would come that no one liked, but we'd settle on.
It's funny how that works.
I'll give you. All right, so that's a good. Maybe this isn't a building thing, but I'm sure I'm interested in this. Give me a couple band names you've had.
So I was in a band called the Amy Trade, and one called Age of Pilots. They were the two main ones.
They sound very. It sounds like a very pleasant band name. Mine was. I had one called Lip Balm, not Balm, Lip Balm, and this other one. I'll say it. Was called Teeter Twatter.
The first one sounds very punky.
Yeah, they were both very, very punky bands. A lot of power chords, really fast.
My original band was Cannon Jack. That was what we came up with. Music related, but I remember, we couldn't decide for ages, and then it was like, that's it, that'll do. And it stuck for a couple of years.
Yeah, my last one in college was Malted Milk.
See, you know what? I think this could be a good Guitar Builders Collective T-shirt. Is it if you have Guitar Builders Collective tour and all the bands that are performing on the stages? I think that would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Instead of the tour dates on the back, it'll be the band names in the country.
Yeah, exactly. Write it down, Corey.
My brother decided this was the name of the band, and we just had to deal with it. So
that was an older brother, then, I assume.
No, little brother actually, but I say little brother. He says younger brother, which is more accurate. But I mean, he pulled me into the band, so whatever.
Was he the lead singer by any chance?
Not initially, but he wound up being so.
That's great.
Little blues band. Good times.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a question then, thinking about the names of bands and things, because I always used to think that the name of the band, when we were trying to come up with a band name, we always think the name of the band has to define the sort of music, but I think that's totally irrelevant, really. But do you think that with guitars? Do you think, because I see a lot of people on forums saying, I'm going to get a guitar, what's the best guitar for heavy metal? What's the best guitar for doing this and that one? The best pickups for shredding on or whatever.
There does seem to be prevailing opinions.
I don't know. I think so many people have bucked the trends as of late that I don't think they're any longer trends, but absolutely, I think that was the case. If you couldn't do dive bombs on something at one point, then what was the use of even having the guitar?
Yeah, imagine the 80s without a trim.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't have been right. How could you have air metal?
And so many pedals do so many crazy cool things now. You don't need all the stuff.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Oh,
well, generally everybody would tell you that humbuckers are for metal and coils are for blues.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I think Arran booted us all out somehow.
I didn't touch anything. Wasn't me.
I'm blaming you.
I haven't touched anything. That was weird.
I guarantee you, I didn't do anything.
Now we're all in different spots, and it's throwing me.
Wasn't technical difficulties. We meant to do that.
Yeah.
Just wanted to shift.
I haven't really noticed when people ask me to make guitars, them being too concerned about, like, no one ever says to me, really, I want this particular fretboard radius. They often say I want a thin neck, but they never really mention the radius. But they often talk about the pickups they want for their style of music. So
I bet most guitarists have no idea that the fretboard is radiused.
It's just like the compound radius where everyone, that there for a while, that was all anybody wanted. And no one could ever tell me why they wanted it.
Yeah.
I think most just want as many bells and whistles as possible.
Absolutely.
That's it. I was going back and forth with someone last night, and they're like, how do we start this process? And I said, all I need is a few things. I said, actually, these few things could be all I would need in order to do the whole build if you trust me. And that is your favorite neck, if you can give me the 1st and 12th, your string gauge, what type of music you want to play, and what color do you want it. If you give me those things, I'll figure everything else out. But you got to trust me. And normally with trust comes a much cheaper price. In my world, that is. If someone wants a guitar, if you want to just let me build one that I want to build, the price pretty much gets cut in half.
Now that's an interesting concept. I have to learn to charge people more when I realize early on they're going to be picky.
Oh, if someone describes, I had this one last year where they even sent me pictures of like a PRS, one of those crazy dragon bursts and this and that. And this is the guitar they've always wanted. By the end of the conversation, I said, you know what? I think you found the guitar you want. You need to go buy a PRS. No reason for me to build it for you. That's the one for you.
Yeah. Be a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Good luck.
It's kind of funny. The last two builds of mine have been commissions, and both of them, the only thing they told me was a color. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
That's the kind of commission I can deal with.
It's funny, like the neck thing for me, like if I just build it the way I want, I build really big necks. Like I love like the old 52U like Telecaster chunky baseball back necks. Those are my favorite. And if someone leaves me to myself to do it, that's what they're going to get. So I try that to be the first question.
Oh, it's interesting to hear the questions you ask. Because I know, Arran, you and Scott don't really make lots of commissions, really. You make them and then, is that right?
Yeah, look, for me, compared to you guys, I'm probably a bit earlier on in the process. So I've made 3 that have gone to other people, and one was 2 weeks ago went to its owner, and he was thrilled with it. So that was one of the the two that I was building at once. One was for him, one was for me, and that was the one with the Bigsby. So and he was happy with the shape and design from my build-off one from last year. That was sort of one of the reasons why he wanted to get one made. And then he said, look, I'd really like a Bigsby, and had an idea for, the pickup that he wanted on it. And then I kind of said, all right, well, these are the timber suppliers that I've kind of used in the past. Have a look, if you want a fancy top like we did, go and have a look yourself, and pick one, and we'll work out a good combination. So we kind of did that together, and then I just kind of went off and built it that way. So that was that one. The other one was the Telecaster that I built for a mate, that was on with the control knobs on the side, sort of the hidden one. And that was just an idea of what he wanted to do, and I was happy to give it a go, because apart from that, it was just a straightforward Telecaster, just with the minimalist approach. So sort of both of those, it's been sort of input of what they sort of wanted. But from the start, I kind of knew that it's something that I could do, rather than kind of saying yes and then getting halfway through and thinking, oh man, I've bitten off more than I can chew.
I need to go back and rewatch that video of yours, Arran, where you did those controls. Did you use like those little mini pots from like a Jazzmaster type of thing to do that, or did you use full-size pots?
No, they were normal. They might have been mini pots, but just regular pots.
Okay.
And I basically, so I had them on the pots were on just a piece of aluminium that I sort of cut to shape to fit in the cavity. And then that was just
or aluminum, whichever word works for you.
Depends on how many L's you want to put in it. That was basically the way I thought about it. So the pots are essentially the same orientation. Or did I flip them? I think they're essentially the same orientation as if they were on the top of the guitar. However, then rather than a knob sticking off it, it's just like a massive recess, and then like a wheel sort of put on. So that kind of stuff. And I built like a test body first. There was no way I was going to start carving into the real one first. The knobs that I made were, because he wanted the same wood as the guitar. So I kind of just did the best hack job I could on the drill press with a bit of sandpaper and all those kind of things. So that's sort of something that, if I ever wanted to fix or change something, it would actually be to do a better job of that. But it went really well. But cutting getting the measurements for the side, so the slot, the three slots for them to screw, and like you've got the outside curve of the guitar, and then the internal one's going to be a slightly different radius, and then getting the wheels to be in the right spot so they all come out. Well, actually, no, they're all recessed, so they were just like inside the outside edge of the guitar. So there was a lot of toing and froing, but it was. I was pretty pleased when it all came together.
I'm gonna try to do that on my Great Guitar Build-Off guitar, and I just conceptually it looks like it makes sense, but I'm like, this is gonna be a pain in the ass. So I gotta go watch your video a handful of more times.
Yeah, for sure.
How you learned your way through it.
Yeah. I think I just used the small pots because, essentially if you imagine them moving from the surface of the guitar down into the body, you want them short, otherwise they're going to stick out the back of the body. And it was a standard, it was 44 mil or 45 mil body sort of thickness. So, look, I wouldn't be rushing to do it on every single guitar that I make, because it was a bit of a process, but certainly for doing it once, if I did do it again down the track, it would be quite similar for, how I would sort of do it, just fine tune it a bit.
When I saw you do that, I thought I kind of wanted to do something similar with the ice cream sandwich, because I didn't want anything. I wanted the least amount of stuff on the face as possible, but I couldn't figure a way to do it. And I was, in a big hurry. And so when I saw you do it, I was like, damn it, it's been done. I could have done it. It could have been possible. Or even some kind of slider or something. I wanted controls to be on the ice cream, so it wasn't on the face. And yeah. So I swore up and down. Doing the holes for that thing was such a nightmare. I would never make another ice cream sandwich again. But there are a couple things with that one that just did not turn out the way I wanted, and I may have to do another someday.
Isn't that true? I have the first guitar I ever built in the shop, and it's like right over there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think about it all the time. Like, I want to grab that damn thing and tear it down and redo it. And then I'm like, nah, I got to leave it the way it is, man. I think that tells the story. It's just sitting right there, and it's got a lot of dust on it. I don't pick it up nearly as often as I used to, but mainly because it's as heavy as a boat anchor.
The first ever is a little iffy because the first thing I actually built that was electric. I don't consider it a real guitar. It was like a 4-string cigar box style solid body little thing that I think it had like a not particle board, but like some of the cheapest shit you could possibly get, and it was screwed to the top. It was, yeah. The first YouTube build was like the third or fourth actual guitar I'd built, and it's still sitting in the shop, and it's, oh my god, it's trash. Baseball neck. I mean, it's so many of the
I like baseball neck, Scott. I mean, that might be perfect for me.
I don't know. This thing is huge. Yeah. So many of those early builds they're pretty, but they were not sale quality.
It's funny because I've said before that I think people could just use their first build as an experiment and just keep taking it apart and rebuilding and stuff. But the more I hear you two and other people talk about having it as a story, it does seem quite important. I've got a couple that I've had for ages that just keep getting experimented on, new holes drilled in it when I want to try something out or paint.
Story's cool until you got like 6 or 8 of them laying around in space.
Those are all, we call those chapters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with your great guitar build off this year, Tye, then it looks like you're trying something quite different.
It looks exciting.
Well, you know what? I try to use, I mean, even that one right there. Like, I always try to do something that is just a little bit nutty, and I don't know. It's my opportunity to practice it. Like, I think about like what when I first got into guitar building, I still consider myself a woodworker that builds guitars. I don't like the term luthier. It makes me feel all like fancy and whatnot. And that's I grew up with hay in my hair, for crying out loud. I'm not fancy. But I try to use it as a way to do new shit, man. Just like do something that is going to make me a little bit nervous. Like, what's the term? I like to feel the pinch. I want as I'm tackling it. If I'm not feeling the pinch a little bit, then I'm like, all right, I didn't go far enough. So, yeah, this one, like, and I built this whole thing. Actually, it's sitting right here. The whole thing is around this little screw. Like, I haven't done a bolt on in so long, but I wanted to use this screw that's got like the little hidden fastener in it. It's like, it's got this little compressed thing, and I'm like, can I do a floating neck and have the whole guitar held on with that screw? I don't know. It's probably going to explode. I mean, I got a little piece of, as Aaron would say, aluminium that's going to slide down into. This will be glued into the body. It's going to be nutty, and I don't know. We'll see. If it explodes, then whoever wins it in the daily guitar draw is going to have an exploded guitar, and I'm not fixing it.
Comes with a free bottle of glue.
Is it going to have two or just one then, Tye? The bolts.
All right, so it'll have one bolt, and then where the hell is it? And this is a piece of titanium.
Yep.
That will be next to it. So these will both be mounted in the neck.
Yep.
Hold on, if that makes sense. They'll be different lengths, but these will both be mounted in the neck, and then they'll slide down into the guitar, and then just one of them will have the bolt. So in my mind, it's gonna, as this goes through there, it's got a lot of surface area, and it's not gonna want to go back and forth, if that makes sense. And they'll come in at an angle, or actually they're gonna come in straight, and the neck is glued at an angle.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there's the 2 holes for that. I love it how my camera does this. Why does my camera do that? It moves around by itself. Kind of fun. So yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. I got pieces laying all over here. I mean, this is the center block. Yeah. Who knows?
I've got to say one thing I love about the Great Guitar Build-Off is obviously for a lot of people it's a chance to build their first thing, and they've got all of the trials of trying to work out how to do that. But then you've got people like yourself and Mark Gutierrez as well, is doing something that you're not sure is going to work. You're also pushing yourselves. I think that's a great thing.
I love so the floating neck thing. When I decided to do that, well, one, I found that bolt. I'm like, ooh, I could do a cool bolt on with just one bolt. So that's where the idea started. And then when I was at that fretboard summit, I got to see a Ken Parker arch top. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but Ken Parker's got a YouTube channel, and I'm addicted to it, and I'm surprised he doesn't have 1 million followers. He's the guy that came up with the Parker Fly. Remember the Parker guitars, the electric guitars? Yeah. They were like all carbon fiber, I think. It had a hollow neck. Like these things were revolutionary at the time. But now all he does are these crazy $50,000 arch tops. And he's shared how he does his bolt on, and it's one bolt that goes into the guitar body. And if you see it, you're like, holy cow. Well, I was at that fretboard summit and I saw one, and I'm like, well, one, I don't want to touch it because it's too expensive. But 2, I do want to inspect it a little bit. And I got to look at it quite a bit. And then I don't know how to pronounce this, or I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, Cranmer Guitars. He was in the Great Guitar Build-Off last year. He does a floating neck on his arch tops also. Yeah. So I wanted to try this whole floating neck thing. I just like, man, I want to try to figure it out. And of course, in the most hack way possible, like I typically am referred to on Instagram by all my troll friends. I'm a hack. So it's fun. Okay, good. Hack it is.
I just had a quick look at Ken Parker's YouTube page when you mentioned it, so I didn't forget. And it looks like it's going to be one of those channels which is full of really amazing making. You can just watch for hours.
Well, he's a really good teacher. Like, like he dives in, man, and he tells you everything that he's doing and why he's doing it. And the guy's just a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, I'm surprised. Like for knuckleheads like me, I think like, why isn't everyone watching this dude? But yeah, no, he's different level stuff, like something to aspire towards. That's for sure. I don't have time to build arch tops. At least that's what I tell myself. I don't want to carve away the tops and the backs. I think that's what it comes down to.
So did you say your background is in woodworking then?
As a hobby for years and years and years. Yeah. Like, so I was in sales and building guitars, or I should say woodworking was, I think you probably can all relate to this. Whether you're in sales or in most jobs. In most jobs, there's never a start and a finish. It's normally you're either doing it for the first time or you're doing it more often. There's never an end of anything. So I remember the day exactly. I was, new to the corporate world, and my little house, I had a backyard that was half the size of my garage, and I'd go out there every week and cut that grass. And at the end of it, I felt so complete. And I'm like, oh, look at that grass. I couldn't wait for that shit to grow again and cut it one more time and say it was done. And I realized that was the thing that was missing. Like there was no sense of completion or anything. So I mean, my dad had taught me enough about woodworking that I started buying tools and stuff. And I realized when I was done building a piece of furniture, I was like, holy cow, this is what I've been missing at work all these years. So then that just evolved into, let me try this guitar thing. See how and then once I realized that a 8-pound guitar was a lot lighter than a 400-pound built-in piece of furniture, and it didn't hurt my back anymore, I never turned back to furniture. Unless, of course, the wife says she needs something.
You know, I think about that really often. The fact that, I mean, after 32 guitars, every single time when you get one finished, I just stare at it in absolute amazement and think, holy shit, I did that. The sense of accomplishment. There have been times when I didn't have anything else that gave me that sense of accomplishment, and I didn't realize when I was younger just how important that is to happiness.
Yeah.
This is such a raw, direct shot of it. It just,
Like, it's funny now, like, how it's evolved, and I'm sure you're probably the same way, or I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't. Like, now when I see, so when I'm done with it, normally I just dealt with finishing, so I'm exhausted with the guitar at that point.
Yeah.
So when it's done, it's like, oh, thank God that shit's done. But for me, it's when I actually see a person that's very good at playing, like pick it up and start playing it, you're like,
Yeah.
I did it. Like that's the moment now. It's like, holy cow. Yeah. Like I actually just got goosebumps. That's really fun. Like I just thought about that, and yeah, that for me is the moment now.
I haven't had too many of those
completion. Yeah. What's that, Scott?
I haven't had too many of those moments, but you know, but like, and people are like, what's your favorite guitar? And it's always the last one I did.
Yeah.
You know, the last one I did is hanging on the wall, and every time I walk by it, I got to stare at it for a minute.
My favorite ones are always, I think, the ones that we talked about this earlier, like the ones that the customer let me make the decisions, and they were surprised by it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you want it to look like that? Well, what about this? Yeah, no, okay, sure. You know, like to me, those are always my favorites. Yeah. When I get to make the most decisions. I guess I'm selfish that way.
I think the moments for me, like when they're finished, probably like the first month or so, you know, when I'm playing them, like I'm still conscious of, you know, setup, and if something's, you know, feels different or I've got to adjust something. So I'm like, it takes me a while to think of it as a guitar, but I've sort of been fortunate that, you know, rehearsals for performances or, you know, playing them in performances when I've sort of played my own, that you get sort of caught up playing, and then it's not till later on you kind of think, oh, that's cool. How I built. You know what I mean? Like you actually forget, like when I'm playing the song or learning the song. So that for me, like they're the really cool moments when I actually forget that this is something that I built.
Yeah.
And I've just treated it like any other, you know, guitar that I own. So yeah, for me, and I'll, you know, the recent one going off to someone as a, you know, a straight off commission, and he loves it. Like, you know, he's had it for a week and a half, and he's, you know, just saying, oh yeah, I've barely put it down, you know, since I've got it. So yeah, it certainly they're pretty cool experiences.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, I remember being at it was called the British Boutique Guitar Festival with Chris from Franklin Guitars, but it was just after all the lockdowns in this country had finished, and so it's the first time a lot of us had been around lots of other people, and then there were people playing the guitars that we'd built, and those people were YouTubers that could really play. And I remember Chris and myself both thinking that's the first time you could actually tell that your guitars could be played by someone and make amazing music. Because like you said, Ty, unless you see someone that can really play, and I can't really play that well, play it, you're never 100% certain it's going to do the job.
Yeah, it's nuts. I even there was this. And actually, I recorded it. It was one of my Instagram posts when I did that fretboard summit. Uh, this guy Andy Pitcher's his name. He's an amazing guitar player. He was doing these things like where I've seen people do like volume swells with a guitar, but he was doing these tone swells, which I hadn't seen like before. Maybe I had, I don't know. Like, but he was doing these tone swells with the guitar, and I was like, I didn't know that it could do that, and that's awesome. Whatever you're doing, I'm never going to try to replicate it, but I love it. Keep doing that. Let me record it. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Too funny.
Yeah,
Are you getting, Danny? Are you getting everything you need here, bud? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, do you? Is this how these? I mean, I watch a lot of these normally as I'm drinking coffee, just like now. But
so one of the things I like
cheers.
about this, we've all said this, is sometimes we get feedback or comments where people saying it's a bit like they're sitting in the pub with us, just having a chat, and they like that. I don't know. I don't know if we had a massive aim for what we were going to be doing with any of these, but the idea was to keep people, you know, engaged with each other. Because, I mean, I'm assuming, Tye, if you're like me, your workshop is connected to your house or near your house. You've got your kids you take to school, then you come home and work. I hardly see anyone. You know, it's a very solitary life building in my workshop.
So it's great that you said that. So I'll expound on that a little bit, and I don't know if everyone feels the same way. So I could be out here after I drop my kids off at school. I come to the workshop. I'm normally here until lunchtime. Go in, take the dogs for a walk, get something to eat, come back to the workshop. Then I go pick up the kids. I could count on one hand over the years how many times my my family has said, "Hey, so what did you do today? You know, what happened in the workshop in the guitar world today? I'm so genuinely interested in what the hell you're doing out there." In fact, count on one hand, I don't think it's ever happened. To be perfectly honest, I don't think they give a shit what I'm doing out here. I don't even think they've ever asked. We talked about the name Shock the Fox. I don't think they've ever even asked, "Where'd you get that name?" So I don't think they care. But what's really funny is like a lot of people ask me after the fact, like, "Hey, you finally did a guitar show. Is that something you do again?" And my answer is, yeah, I would. And the reason might be different than what others might say, but my feeling is I was there at a place where a bunch of builders do the same stuff that I do, and there's a bunch of people that like guitars that are interested in the same things that I'm interested in. And holy cow, it was like all of a sudden the lights came down and people actually wanted to talk to me about guitars and have a conversation. I'm like, I haven't experienced this in years. Like, my family doesn't have this much interest in what I'm doing. So yeah, that's what was cool about doing a show, is it actually having genuine conversations about the stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Well, my entire life, no matter work, most of my hobbies, everything I'm always into, there's never anybody in my life that I can talk shop with. Nobody has a clue about what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I've never had, it's so rare you got somebody to talk to that, is even remotely aware of the shit that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just often tell my family whether they like it or not. I'll just come in and say, "Oh, this is what I did," or whatever, and they just pretend that they know what I'm talking about and say, "Oh, yeah, that looks good. That feels good. Yeah, well done."
It's like my boss. Nobody I've ever worked for, well, almost nobody I've ever worked for, had a clue what I actually do. They know what the end results are. They know my process, but. So there are times I go in and talk to my boss about what I'm dealing with, and it just all goes straight over her head. She has no clue, but she's gotten used to the fact that she's a really good sounding board. So I go in and I got this problem and the decoupling and blah, And she's just nodding and, and, I just talk myself through it and, figure out, come to a solution in my head. And, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And, say thanks. And she's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And now the feedback I get from the kids, pick any one of the three. They see a guitar like, oh, that's cool. That's the feedback from the kids. And the wife would say, that's pretty. And that's the total feedback. It's funny, like, any of us that have had the day jobs, the mid-year reviews, the year-end reviews. Nowadays, my only review that I have is every year on Father's Day, I give each of my kids a piece of paper that says, tell me one thing that I've been doing well and one thing you want me to change.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's on Father's Day. That's my year-end review every year. I don't check in for a mid-year review anymore. It's just a year-end review.
Yeah.
Tell me what you like that I'm doing, and tell me something that I can change, and that's it. So yeah, that's about the amount of feedback that I get.
I've got a feeling if they're not asking you how it's going in the workshop, as someone said in the chat, Pooh said in the chat, they just know you're happy in there. And
yeah, I guess.
If you come home from work and you look a bit stressed, then they're going to say, oh, what happened at work today?
Yeah. I mean, when I used to come home from work, I know my wife used to do this. She'd tell the kids, and they were young, she'd say, just give Daddy about an hour to come back down before you guys engage with them. Just steer clear of them for an hour. There's no downtime now for me to get back to zero anymore. I walk in and it's just like when I walked out. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been considering bringing my guitars in when they're finished into the house, just so I can show everyone what I've done. But again, I'm not sure. It's partly because
Daniel, it's not going to work out, bud. It's not going to.
I think I've got this thought in my head that maybe my kids might be then interested in building things, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Let them find the shop. Don't bring the shop to them, bud.
Well, at the moment, I've mentioned this before. Every school holiday, my shop has a table in it which becomes the slime factory, and my daughter comes in and mixes all her concoctions up in there. So that works. They've got a space and an apron to wear. Feels very official.
Reminds me of a couple memes. One with the real sad, lonely-looking dude, and it says, when you're at a party and nobody wants to talk about guitars.
Yeah.
Then there's the one with the little otter or whatever it is holding that little toy guitar. It says, when you show somebody your new guitar and they're like, cool.
That's funny. Mix Guitars put a comment, showed my daughter my current GGBO guitar after I glued it up. She said, Daddy, that doesn't look right.
So I also did a show for the first time recently, and I totally would back you up, Tye. It was great to talk to people with a similar interest. And the amount of people I met as well who were coming along, who were builders, who didn't necessarily want to have a stand, but were keen to talk to you about how you'd made stuff was brilliant too.
Yeah.
Something I want to do more of.
It's so great. It really is.
Back to Mick's comment. It was one of the first times I did a multi-scale. And I showed my mom this guitar, and she, yeah, that's real nice. I like it. Isn't it? Then she was like, do you know the frets aren't straight?
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine? You just thought my dumb ass just didn't realize.
But Scott, you had that brilliant video last year where you gave was it last year where you gave your guitar to your son and you sort of filmed him seeing it? That was brilliant. That was a really cool moment to watch.
Dude, that was years in the making though, because I mean, the year before I did a guitar for him, and it was the second or third year he didn't get to come. So yeah. So the next year I'm like, well, he didn't get to come already. I didn't get to give this to him, and there are things I wish I'd done on it. So let's just do a whole new one. So yeah, it was like 3 years in the making for him to actually get that thing. So there wasn't no way in hell I was going to let him see it without getting it on camera.
Scott, that reminds me. I always want to ask you this: did you ever finish the quilted top guitar Because the last I saw, you didn't have pickups for it, and I'm like, so. I mean, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, bud, but I think I know the answer based on your face right now.
Define finish.
Have you found pickups for it yet?
I knew from the beginning what pickups I wanted. I couldn't afford them at the time, and I've just forged on. The thing, I think this guitar is going to be a wonderful thing. It's just the hardware, the headless hardware is, oh my God, what a pain in the ass. Talking to Chris Andrews, one of the things he ran into with his headless was the locking end, the little pieces. It kept snapping strings like all the time, which apparently is because of the screw head. You clamp this down onto that screw head, it has a tendency to break strings. So this set comes with these little bitty tiny little discs that fall in there, and I can't imagine selling this to somebody because it is so fiddly and wonky that those things come loose. You got to tighten those all the time. You can't lose that little disc in there. There's so many goofy little things that I can't imagine somebody trying to change strings on it and take care of it themselves. So I resigned myself to the fact for a long time that this will be my guitar forever. So, I've got time. It's hanging on the wall and it's gorgeous. And I have multiple times in recent months thought I really need to finish it. The finish is done and everything. I just need electronics in it. And actually I do need to drill a jack hole as well. So define finish. It's so pretty though. But yeah, it's 20 feet away from me at the moment.
There you go.
It
always within eye shot, right?
It will get finished someday. It has to. It's just too pretty.
That's great.
And I always feel bad when I look at it that it's not finished. I'm like, man, Tye deserves to see a finished guitar.
It's going to wear on you even more now.
So I don't know. A lot of people may not know. We were having a discussion once upon a time, some of us, and Quilted Maple came up, and I mentioned the fact that that's like the holy grail to me. From the beginning, since the moment I started building, I thought I got to have quilted. I remember seeing a blue one and thinking it looked like the bottom of a swimming pool. It was the coolest thing ever. And Tye said, "So what's your address?" So he sent me the top, and he just said, "All I want is to see what you do with it."
Oh, wow, amazing!
Came about. Since then, Morehouse. Damn it! What an asshole! I'm on camera and I forgot his name. Luthier.
Brett.
Yeah. We were talking about a website that has a lot of awesome tops, and we're talking about these curly redwoods. And he sent me one. He said, "I just got drunk and I ordered it and sent it to you." So, yeah. And then a month or two ago, Todd sent me 3 or 4 tops, and one's a Buckeye Burl that I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with just yet. So now I got all these tops
That's great.
Some sort of magic tongue you've got to entice people to send you gifts.
I'd like to call that, Scott. You now have a wood library. A wood library is always a good thing.
I suspect mine's quite a bit smaller than most people's, but I have a huge selection of long planks that were mostly neck type stuff. But yeah, a little bit of a wood library.
Tye, we've all been speculating. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say I've been looking at I'm staring at my wood library right now, and I'm realizing that I need some more body blanks. I'm running low.
Someone out there ready to send?
I need more material. See, I've been real lucky. There's a place in town that sells exotic hardwoods and has in the past had an awesome selection. So most of what I built with came from there. But since COVID and all the shipping problems, they've been really low on good stuff forever, and it's really sad. However, they do tend to always have some sapele, ash, and alder usually. So when it comes to body blank type stuff, I can get some material, thank God. But
Yeah.
I'm getting a little low on that as well.
Yeah. And of course, there's the stuff in the stash, and the neck blanks. I'm like, I don't know what I'm saving them for, but you feel like that's a do not touch, like save for a rainy day type of situation. Yeah, but the save for a rainy day pile is getting taller and taller. I gotta start actually diving into that.
Hey, Ty, it's hard to always know because we're following you on Instagram and things like that. If those reels that you're putting up are what's currently going on. I just wondered how many guitars you've got on the go at a time.
Oh shit!
Or you're one guitar at a time person?
I'm normally like a one or two. Like I had a lot going on before that guitar show. Like you feel like you had to do so much more. But I've got one that the only thing left to do is a nut, which whatever reason I hate doing. I got to do a nut and set up for. I've got the great guitar build-off guitar. I still have that crazy X guitar that I've just always left on my I never rush into it. I wait until I'm really complacent and relaxed before I work because it's so complicated. But also with that one, a buddy of mine that's he's a knife maker. He's going to be making Damascus for that to do a cool Damascus pick guard and a Damascus lower arm. It's like a collaboration. I mean, him and I have been buddies for years. He builds knives, I build guitars. So I figured this would, and I want that one. That's going to be kind of my one to where if we decide to sell it, we sell it. But otherwise, that's the kind of thing that I've never seen anything else like it. And it's my woodworking test. That's why I'm never trying to rush into it. It's so damn complicated that I got to get it right, so I can never rush into it. So yeah, I don't have much going on right now. Even though it's funny, whenever I don't have much going on, I don't know if you guys are like this. That's normally when I start sketching shit. And when I start sketching shit, and I'm like, ooh, I like that. Like yesterday, I started drawing out I'm like, I like the Jazzmaster body. It always seems a little clunky to me, but what if I took that and made it my version? And I spent probably 2 hours yesterday just sketching my version of a Jazzmaster. And now that I've got a design I like, I want to build the damn thing. So I want to start diving in right away. So yeah, when I got downtime, I design, and when I design, I have to build, which is, I guess, a good circle of life.
Early on, it was mostly you see a piece of wood, and I have to see that on a guitar, and the wood was the inspiration. And nowadays, very often it's some technical idea that I want to try to incorporate that motivates you to do the next one. But
yeah, let me see if I can grab this thing because I think this would be cool. Hold on.
I'm also aware for everyone that's watching that Ty's camera's intense.
That is
He has to leave in a few minutes. So
crazy auto zoom.
So yeah, this thing, that great guitar build-off guitar.
Yeah.
So all of look at it, the camera's following me. The stuff with the lines, that's all going to be plexiglass, so you're going to be able to see through it.
Oh, cool.
So it's going to look like
what that would be.
Yeah, so like I don't even know if I can pull it off. But yeah, you'll be able to see through the guitar. Everything else will be these chunks of old rail car flooring that I'll ebonize. But yeah, it's all going to be plexiglass and stuff. So it'll look like it's floating. That was the whole concept. Like I said, it's probably going to break into a million pieces, but you know what? It's going to be fun as hell in the meantime.
As long as you're filming it when it does.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it looks really awesome. I'm anxious to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Why does my camera do that? I hate it.
I heard Chris DePinto for DePinto Guitars the other day talking about Gibson headstocks and how there's not a problem with them. The fact everyone keeps saying they break all the time. It's that they weren't built to be dropped or used in the way that lots of people use them. And maybe it's the same with the plexiglass. It's going to be fine as long as it's, well, maybe it's going to be really durable. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's 3/8 of an inch thick. I don't know what that is in millimeters. So it'll be pretty substantial. But like in my mind, the center block is all going to be solid.
Yeah.
So the neck and the center block will be solid, and then all the peripheral parts will just be floating. So it should hold up, air quotes.
Should.
Yeah, but it'll be fun to try.
So Tyler, I know we've only got you for like 1 or 2 more minutes, and you asked us, are we getting out of this what we want? Are you getting out of this what you want?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, listen, if nothing else, get to talk to the knuckleheads lifetime as opposed to on a chat is always a good thing. Shit, like, honestly, I would have just been sitting in the house, everyone ignoring me for the last hour. As I'm yelling, go brush your teeth. Hey, where's your backpack?
Yeah, I gotta figure with these as long as there isn't dead awkward silence for more than a couple seconds, we're good. We're good.
They've all been great chats so far to finally talk face to face as close as we can to people that we've only texted or messaged before.
Yeah, and 11 people in the world that are watching would probably agree.
Yeah. 4 of them are us, remember?
That's true.
That's great. You know what I'm really thrilled with is the fact that those 11, now 12 people that are watching, not one person had a friggin' question for me. So, wait.
No.
They all had questions about beards. They're just too embarrassed to ask.
Quick question, Tye, from me then. Your Stu Mac stuff. When do we get to see your adventures at Stu Mac?
Oh man, I can't wait for that to come out because it's funny. I will tell this story pretty quickly. I talked to. I mean, they have a hell of an operation there, as you can well assume. And we've all watched the Stu Mac videos. We know what the typical standard format is, and what I'll say is that standard typical format is not me. Like I'm not. I'm in by no way. I had the conversation after day 1 and after day 2. I said, hey guys, just real quick, as I'm sitting there talking to a producer and the videographer and the social media person, I'm like, hey, I watch enough of these videos to know what you guys normally do, and that isn't what we did. And I said, is this going to be a risk? Meaning, people are used to watching a certain format, and then you got my goofy ass coming in doing these things. Like, I'll give you a case in point, and you can tell from that one little outtake video that I put out there. At the very beginning of it, they're getting ready to film the introduction, and I was really impressed. They have the camera that's right above the workbench shining down, which I don't have. I've got an articulating arm with my camera that goes in it, right? And I said, huh. So I turned around and I laid down on the bench and stared up at the camera, and and I did my opening that way. And I go, okay, like that's what you got with me, man. Like that's the way this is gonna go. So everything that you're used to seeing with a Stu Mac video is not this. But
Brilliant.
what I'm most excited about, and from a selfish perspective, is I get more questions from people on how I do my oil finishes, because I don't do spray finishes. I don't. And I said, I told them, I go, I'm so thrilled now that if I get another question about it, I can just attach that YouTube video when they finally release it. Hey, just follow this, because that's what the whole thing is. The premise of the video is, how do you do a their words, not mine, pro quality oil finish on your kitchen table.
Yep.
Like that was it's like you don't need a fancy spray booth to get a great oil finish. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see when they release it. My guess is they've got a lot of stuff they've got to clean up and take out with my dumbass. Yeah. So it'll be fun. Like those, like you actually said this in the beginning, Daniel, is that people don't normally see my face. And if you ever watch my YouTube videos, the only time you see my face is at the beginning saying this is what I'm going to do, at the end saying this is what I just did, or occasionally you'll see me do one of these, drink coffee in the camera. That's all. So I kept doing the coffee in the camera thing to them. Yeah. Like they were filming my buddy Casey, and I over in front of the camera as they're filming them and do one of these. And anything I could do to screw up their process was kind of my goal.
Brilliant.
So I was myself. Let me say it that way.
Well, I'm sure they asked you along because it was you. They want you. So
I guess. Well, I asked them if they had regretted that several times.
Well, we definitely haven't regretted having you here.
Well, thank you, everyone. Wait a second. We got a question. Is there any part of a build that you guys don't do? An example, I always have to send my guitars off the finish. Huh. Is there any part that no, I mean, I used to hate doing setups, but now I kind of feel like I have to do it. I will say this. One thing that I do, even, and if you guys were closer, I'd use one of you guys. When I'm done with a guitar, I like to give it to another guy here in the area and say, find the problems.
Yeah, good idea.
You know what I mean? Like play it, like put it on your bench. How would you tweak this thing at all? So yeah, that's the one thing I like to do. And I pay him to do that. Like I pay him to find problems because I'd rather have a second set of eyes. I think everything's great, but I always need someone else to back me up.
Two thoughts on that. In software, it's very, very well known that you're the last person in the world that's qualified to test this because you've made all of these assumptions to begin with. The mindset that you went into with is limited, and dumb users tend to just put in stupid shit you'd never imagine. So handing it off to somebody else for QR is absolutely essential. When it comes to setups, I'm not a big fan either, but I always felt like, a lot of builders seem to kind of come from a repair and setup type of background to begin with. So they have so much experience in that. And really, when it comes to the finished guitar, that is probably the number one thing that makes the biggest difference anyway. So as much as I feel like I'm not qualified and I don't enjoy it all that much, I felt like it's pretty important for me to do it and get that experience. Because realistically, you should be able to take some piece of shit at a pawn shop and do a really good setup on it and make it, twice the guitar it was. So, for your custom stuff that really took so much time and effort and money, you want that setup to be perfect.
I hate to do this, but I just got 3 text messages from 3 children that are saying we got to go. So, gentlemen and anyone else that's out there, thank you. I'm sorry I have to run. And if you guys ever want me back, I'd love to have a morning with you knuckleheads anytime.
It's been awesome having you.
No, thanks for joining us.
Cheers,
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Bye. Oh, that was good fun.
Yeah, he's always fun.
Yeah,
it's always interesting not knowing what you're going to talk about and where it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like last night I was thinking, do I need to be prepared for something? I haven't. It's been such a crazy week at work. I've been keeping up with playlists and I've been watching stuff, but I haven't been really taking notes or anything. But
no, I think that's what we found when we've had the guests on, that it's just fun for a chat and it goes where it wants to go and what we want to talk about. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
speaking of which, us three haven't talked about it properly yet, but some of you might have heard or gathered it earlier on, but because of time zones all changing, we're going to have to rearrange how we do it because the times are going to be too extreme for Australia and America to be, for Scott and Arran to be on at the same time unless we can find another way. But it'd be great to get more people involved with chatting as well. So if anyone in the chat or watching afterwards wants to get involved, do message us. There's always space to do it. But I think what will probably end up happening is we won't be doing it at the same time every week until all our time zones combine again with our saving times changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried to sit down and wrap my brain around the logistics yet. I'm kind of afraid of.
The only thing I kind of thought it means not for the three of us not to be on. So it could be like, if there's a guest that's from, or from UK or US, then you two and someone else could do it. Or then if it was someone that was sort of closer to my time zone, then, it'd be Daniel, me and someone else. So I just kind of split it sort of that way. Because I think, Daniel could probably fit in with either of us two, but it's Scott and I that are going to be.
I was thinking something similar.
Yeah, just having a couple more people that could rotate through.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of exactly what BB Guitars is saying. Anyway, so Arran, how are you getting on with your Great Guitar build?
I would like to be a little further ahead than I am, since I said at the start I've had 2 weeks school holidays, which I thought, oh great, 2 weeks of just focused building. But that was when I was finishing off the commission build and had a lot of fun with that, and just other holiday things that I wanted to do as well. Making reasonable progress. I'm certainly not in a panic mode that I'm going to run out of time. So I'm just sort of plodding through the motions of doing the bits that I can do, and a few video ideas that I need to go off and film a few things elsewhere. So since what I'm sort of planning to do since the Blackwood that I got, so the recycled component was the cabinet that was my parents' that we pulled apart a few years ago. But that all came from down the coast from me in the Otway Ranges, which is about a 2-hour drive. So it's a national park sort of area. So I actually want to go down there and film in the approximate locations of where the wood would have come from, 30 or 40 years ago. So that's sort of the plan that I need to get a weekend to do that. And also, I think I talked about Maton Guitars. So they're probably the biggest acoustic guitar company in Australia. And they're Melbourne-based as well. And they actually source all their Blackwood for their acoustic guitars from the same region. So I'm kind of, it's cool that the wood that I'm using for this guitar, as well as being the previous GGBO guitar, I can actually go and see where it come from roughly, but it's also being used by other guitar companies in Australia. So it's kind of all that video stuff now that I want to make sure I don't run out of time at the end. And build wise, I'm still waiting on the parts to arrive from the Allegory Music. So I sort of emailed probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm just assuming that everything's in order and what I want to put in is available. So just hoping that all those kind of things don't get delayed or anything now, because that'll derail me a little bit.
I can't wait to see it.
The pickups that I'm using, so they've got these they call them chameleon pickups, so they wind themselves, and they're a combination of everything. I think each pickups, they said they've got about 6 leads coming off, and you can pretty much wire them up to be single coil PAF humbuckers and then like a really high output humbucker. But within that, they've then got like a high output and a low output sort of mode as well. And it's got like, a rotary switch that controls it. So when I looked it up and I thought, that sounds really cool, and I emailed the guy, said, are these, one that we could have? And he emailed back, said, yeah, that's perfect. We can sort of do that. And then he actually said himself, but they can be a real nightmare to install and solder up. But I kind of figure, the last 2 build off guitars. I haven't sort of done anything simple electronic wise with having a built-in fuzz circuit last year and the infinity mirrors and built-in pedals the year before. So I kind of figure that it's worth putting in the effort to have as many tonal variations as I can get out of it.
You know that guitar I was building that had all the really crazy electronics in it? This sounds like the sort of pickup he would love. Where you can get
Okay.
Yeah, he's just asked me to upgrade that to have a 10-way switch in it, which is a bit bugger. I've used them before. They're really clever. They fit in like a 5-way Strat sliding selector. And it's got 5 positions, but yeah, it goes up and down as well. So up 5 positions, down it's 5 positions. And actually, they have a number of wiring diagrams that you just follow for different setups. So you don't have to work it out yourself. So it's not too complicated.
Well, with this one, on their website, they had like 3 or 4 wiring diagrams for the pickups. Great. And I kind of said, it's the one that obviously you can use every combination. So I said, if I can use those pickups, just send me like, whatever switches or anything that I need to make this one work. And that's where he wrote back and said, it can be a nightmare to do. So, but look, I'm up for the challenge. It's, got nothing to lose by trying, because at the end of the day, I can just wire them up as humbuckers or single coils or 2 combinations rather than going the full hog.
I really hate wiring.
Yeah.
I wish it was something I enjoyed. I wish I knew more about it. If I knew more about it, I'd probably enjoy it more.
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm getting better at it, and then I realise something's gone wrong with what I've done. Like I wired one up 2 days ago, and then soldering was all so neat. I thought, this is brilliant. And then I realised I'd soldered it up, all of the components together, but some of the components, the wires had to slide through holes in the guitar and then be soldered up. So I had to desolder it all and redo it all, and then it just didn't look as good. It looks a mess. Yeah.
Black magic. That reminds me of Anthony. Calls it electricery.
Electricery. I like it. Very good.
Yeah. I like the idea of it, like the plan, can this physically work with these components together? And then you kind of think, well, separately, that'll work, and separately that'll work. Can I combine it all? So I kind of like all that and the planning around it, and even like the execution, but it's all the grounding, like I don't mind signal paths, but then it's like when you've got to ground too many things to one bit, and it's like, a few of mine have had a few screws that I've screwed into the into the shielding in the cavity and just put some wires onto that just to make it easier.
That's not a bad idea.
I actually saw it. I might have to share this. I'll find the video and share in the chat. It's basically it was a grounding tip that the lug, the wire where you solder the lug on the pot to the back of the pot is actually said that if you wire a section of like the end of a G string, so like a thickish bit of wire to the back of the pot and to that lug, and then all of the ground wires, you just make like a loop over it, loop those over that guitar string that you've wired in, and then you've probably got a few centimeters of wire that all you have to do is loop it over and solder on. So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I'm trying that next time.
I love that. I love that as well, because I've got so many ends of wires that I used to keep to like clear out the end of my glue pot lids and stuff like that. Glue nozzle. So, but actually, that's a much better.
It's only like a 2-minute video just explaining it, so I'll find it and I'll share it with you guys. But yeah, when I saw it, it's like, I'm remembering that next time.
Well, there have been a few times that something was wrong, and eventually, I don't know why, but what I found was something was grounding on the shielding, and that ruined everything. And I don't know how that. I don't know why that is a problem, but electricery.
Electricery. That sounds like a name of a podcast about soldering. I wanted to quickly say I've noticed the Great Guitar Build-Off doing lots more sharing on Instagram recently. And then I noticed in the Facebook group a number of even new people that have just about finished stuff. So I thought I'd share a couple of them before we go.
Yep.
I don't know if you've noticed at all, Scott, if there's been many finished ones on YouTube?
Not since like a week or two ago I was talking about that. There were quite a few that seemed to be wrapping up, and I haven't seen a bunch of them in the last couple weeks.
Right. So we got this one from Mike. So he said he'd been in the. Here it goes. I was thinking to myself, since this competition's getting close to the deadline, doesn't it have a Facebook page? So he found us. But I love this. It's themed at the moment. Our house is all about Halloween at the moment. But yeah, with the sort of what am I trying to say? Frankenstein's monster head and the body that matches it with a little kind of amateur guide on it. What I like on this is it's got a scratch plate which was obviously made for different pickups that's been hacked into, and it kind of fits the design quite well. And like the barbed wire on the neck. But he said this is his third build, I think he said. And then here we go. We've got Robert Old Guitars has just put up this. I can't wait to see close-up pictures of that.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
It's hard to find angle pickups for a multi-scale, but angle pickups without multi-scale is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a worthwhile idea.
Yeah. One thing that I've been thinking about, because someone mentioned it last week, is this idea that for the Great Guitar Build-Off, you've got to supply 50 photos.
Lord.
Quite mad.
There's Mr. Pepita.
And then we've got Trent's. Trent was asking, does anyone know what 8VA means? Because he's surprised that a lot of musicians don't.
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, someone put it in the comments. I'm pretty certain it means, from my days when I learnt to read music when I was at school, it's what you use to mark an octave up in when you're writing the scale. So you can write your music, but you write that above and then you play it an octave higher.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, they're all looking very good.
Yeah.
Let me sort something else out. And then there's some build photos happening here.
Those are looking pretty nice.
Yeah, maybe with the photos, like having to put in 50, they were sort of wanting to do that for people who didn't want to do, the video sort of component. Maybe that was sort of their idea. But yeah, 50s I certainly won't have 50 photos of mine to submit.
I guess part of the idea is to have 50 photos to show you're making it.
Yeah,
not the end.
Progress. Yeah.
I got to assume that idea came from the fact that you may not have video.
Yep, I think so. Yeah.
Or as Pooh said,
pictures. 50's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I pressed the wrong button.
You do like,
Oh, look at this. Corey's had a share. Finally, Corey. I think they're ramping it up as it's getting towards the sort of last month now. Or 2 months left, isn't there?
2 months, yeah. Yep.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that's... I need to figure out how to finish.
Yeah, I was initially hoping to have mine finished by the end of October, so this month, but I suspect I'll be into November a bit to get it done. If I can get all the construction done and I'm into finishing and assembly into November, then I'll be happy, I reckon.
I should have been finished, but the finish has just been a pain in the ass. The UV polyester was such an awesome idea, and the fact that you could, in theory, have the finish done within a day or two, and be able to move on to level and polish. Just couldn't get that stuff to really self-level, so it's just. So at some point I gave up and started doing wipe on poly on top, and it's not working out. It hasn't cleared out all the problems below, and I'm at a point where I feel like I might have to sand everything back and re-dye and start completely.
Oh no, that's tedious. I assume with the UV one, you'd have to level it yourself afterwards. But was it just really lumpy?
It would streak pretty bad and leave little dimples and all kinds of things. So, and I would, I'd leave it sitting for like an hour or two to try to, see if I didn't try adding heat to it. I don't know if that would have actually cured it or not, but it's some other project where it doesn't matter if I sand through it a little bit, maybe then I can, do 2 or 3 coats of that and, really sand in to level it maybe, but trying to deal with the finishes on top of a die that do have to be sanded some is just nightmarish.
Yeah. Right.
It's so easy to go through it.
Yeah.
So I'm at a point where I'm thinking I'm going to try because there's not a lot of wipe on poly there. I'm going to try to shoot some lacquer over it, and if that will work, maybe I can just get a few coats of the lacquer on there and be able to level it and it'll look good.
Yeah.
But poly and lacquer are not compatible, so I'm prepared for the possibility that when I try that, it fails catastrophically. In which case, I'm back to plan C of sanding it all back and starting over anyway.
I think normally with poly and lacquer, it's just not compatible if the lacquer goes on top. Sorry, no, got that wrong. Sorry, the poly goes on top of the lacquer, but lacquer on top's fine because the poly's more stable, so it doesn't move as much.
Well, I've read a few different things, and a lot of people just say don't do either, but we'll see. I'm going to try it and see what happens because it could save me a lot of work if it works.
Okay. Curtis just put up this idea this comment that Great Guitar Builder have got a new YouTube channel, which I didn't know about. I've got to say that would be a bit. If they've got a new channel, that's a bit disappointing because I think
they had a channel. I don't know if maybe it is a new one, but I know that I think I found one maybe early in the year. So at some stage in the past, I think they did set one up. So it could be one that's just kind of set up ages ago, even for like the previous year, that never really got used as they thought.
Oh, thanks. See you, Pooh. Oh, I guess we should end in a minute anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to head off to bed since it's the next day now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
I get carried away too.
Just to quickly say that next Friday, I'm going to put out the first of those luthier lunch breaks things that I've done. So I've edited together 45 minutes of a number of different short videos that people have contributed. I'll put it up Friday lunchtime. I'm going to send it out first, though, to the people that contributed so they can see it. And then I've got it lined up for 2 weeks later. I've got more of another 45 minutes done. So it should be quite fun. And Curtis and Pooh said they were working on something to send me as well. So thank you. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Great.
All right.
Time to go to work.
See everyone next time then.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Later.
Bye.